Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Thank you very much for the ecstatic welcome that you have accorded to me. The best way to welcome anyone is by ecstatic chanting of the holy names of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, not everyone will appreciate that. Normally most people don't get greeted by kirtan. Politicians and different people, they get some welcome for them, but it's not with kirtan. So by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, I am greeted in various places with ecstatic kirtan, but I think your kirtan is the most ecstatic. The ecstasy in kirtan, it's not simply from how loud and strongly you can bang the mridanga. It's not that if you have very big muscles that makes you qualified to do better kirtan. It is a matter of love. So I accept your love on behalf of Srila Prabhupada and offer it to him, by whose mercy we are all able to partake in the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we also welcome in our midst today Sri Shama Pran Adhika Devidasi. Her name, she's sitting here now. So her name means she is the servant of that devotee who considers Shama, Krishna, to be more to her than her own very life. So that is principally Srimati Radhika. And Srila Prabhupada introduced us to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which welcomes everyone to the chanting of the holy names, and the highest pinnacle of which is service to Radha and Krishna. But even from the very beginning, there is worship of Radha and Krishna. Because chanting Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada explains, means, O Krishna, O energy of Krishna, which means Radharani, please engage me in your service. So we welcome also here, one group has come from, what's the village name? Moped. Mopedu. That sounds like Telugu, is it? Some Telugu influence? No? So there's also a group of devotees, and they also want to learn how to perform ecstatic kirtan. So it is good also to have good strong muscles if you're going to play the mridanga for a long time, very hard. So we're not saying you have to be a weakling, but we must always remember that in Hari Kirtan comes from the heart. If you can sing very nicely, we have some good Kirtan leaders here, Krishna has blessed them with a good voice, then that is also very appreciable. But ultimately, bhakti does not depend upon any material condition. There are many great singers in the world. For instance, famous for generations is Lata Mangeshkar. She may not be so very famous here, but there must be some famous Tamil singers also. But throughout the world there are different famous singers in various languages. But simply to have a sweet voice is not a qualification for Hari Kirtan. And although we have to discuss the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, it's not that simply by amassing a lot of knowledge that one performs bhakti. Dhane jane panditye krishnere nahi pai kebal bhakti bosh Chaitanya Gosai, as is stated in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, that it is not by wealth or popularity or knowledge that one can attain Krishna and Panditya. Chaitanya Gosai, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, he comes under the control of pure devotional service. So the ecstasy in kirtan comes from purity of heart. And it is a fact, as Srila Prabhupada stated, there's one very inspirational, of course there are many inspirational sentences within his writings. One of them is as follows: everyone who takes to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra will be completely cleansed of all the dirty things within the heart. So, bhaja bhaja bhai Chaitanya Nitai Surura Bishasakar. We should worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu by process of chanting the holy names with great faith. With faith that if we go on with this chanting of Hare Krishna, we will be completely purified and we will go to the spiritual world. We won't remain in this material world. If you want to remain in this material world, it's easy. You just have to follow 4 regulative principles: meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication. You just do it. Do it all. And you have to take a vow not to chant Hare Krishna. And most people in the world are completely surrendered, heart and soul, with the complete determination that in this life I will definitely not go back to Godhead by any means whatsoever. Matyena Krishne parato svato va mitho bhipadyeta griha vratanam adanta gobhi vishatang tamisram punah punas charvita charvananam. This was noted by Prahlad Maharaj eons previously, many yugas previously. There are some people who have made a very strong vow that I will not be Krishna conscious. They will, that by no means, I'm not going to be, and no one will convince me. They may talk of seeking for the truth, spiritual enlightenment, but they're not interested in Krishna consciousness. Because their real motive is simply to enjoy this material world via their senses. They think to have uncontrolled senses, that is very good. But by this they enter into the darkness of ignorance. And the example is given that they are chewing the chewed. Just like if you take some sugar cane, you chew it, and you chew it, and you go on chewing and chewing and chewing. In the beginning there might be some sweetness, but in the end there's just nothing. But you're hoping it might be sweet. And in this Kali Yuga, people have no good qualities. They think to do the wrong thing is the right thing. But by the grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as given us by Srila Prabhupada, even in the darkness of this Kali Yuga, we can get fully spiritually enlightened by this very simple process of chanting the names of Krishna. We can all go back to Godhead in this very life. There's no need to get born again. We should all take to this chanting of Hare Krishna and the process of Krishna consciousness very seriously. Ecstasy that we have experienced in chanting, we are meant to experience this at every moment for eternity. And actually whatever bliss we're feeling in Krishna consciousness, this is only a little sample of the complete bliss of the spiritual world. In this world we get a little taste of the spiritual bliss of the spiritual world. But when we actually get free from all the dirty things in the heart, all the material attachments, the lust, greed, anger, illusion, so many bad things, sense of I, me and mine, when we completely go beyond that and are absorbed in love of Krishna, we cannot even begin to imagine the bliss We are all meant for that. This Krishna consciousness, if we go on with it very seriously, we will experience how we are becoming purified. Sometimes when we take to Krishna, people take to Krishna consciousness and they feel as if they're becoming more materially contaminated. That is a test of Maya. When we try to come out of Maya's clutches, she gives us more bad things. The deeply rooted in our hearts, the deep sanskars or impressions, that they come out, the deeply rooted material desires. But we should not be disturbed by this. We should go on chanting Hare Krishna. It's something like if you clean up your house very carefully. The room in the house might look quite clean, but if you decide to do a major cleanup, get behind all the pictures and behind the Almirah, and you'll find there's so much dust accumulated which you weren't even aware of. So chanting Hare Krishna, the first effect is Cheto Darpana Marjanam. It cleans the mirror of the heart. So we shouldn't be surprised if we start to chant Hare Krishna that some bad desires come. We should go on chanting Hare Krishna and apply ourselves very intensely to the process of Krishna consciousness. What is happening, Maya is testing us. Do we really want Krishna? Or do we want to rot in this material world? Maya will present so many attractions. We should all go on, forward and up in Krishna consciousness by chanting the holy names and understanding the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and understand there's nothing of any value in this material world. In this material world, the only thing of value is the association of devotees and the chanting of the holy name. But that's not really in the material world at all. It is and it isn't. Just like we are now sitting here in part of Chennai. But we're not in Chennai, we're in the spiritual world. Chennai means a place where people come to eat, sleep, mate and defend and work hard to earn money so they can go on eating, sleeping, mating and defending. But we have come here for hearing and chanting about Krishna. That is the activity of the spiritual world. So we're not in Chennai, we're in the spiritual world. But don't go back to Chennai. Sometimes devotees ask me that, well, when I'm in the temple, it's all very blissful, and then when I go back outside and there's all Maya and I get attracted, what should I do? So I tell them, well, just don't go back, just stay in the temple. Then you won't be in Maya. Oh, but I have my family and this and that. Well, make your family home a temple also. Get up early in the morning, every day, chant Hare Krishna. That's the best way to start the day. Instead of sleeping in as long as you can, and then, to get up and go to work. But rather devotees, they like to rise early in the morning and first thing in the morning chanting Hare Krishna. What a miserable life people are living when in the morning, they prefer to sleep, which means and not get up. In other words, practically being dead to them is better than being alive. And just to get some energy to go to face their miserable day's work, they have to take a big strong cup of coffee. Not English yet. Here. Okay, now I can face the day. But devotees, they enthusiastically rise every morning for the bliss of chanting Hare Krishna. So devotees, they live in the spiritual world even if they're superficially in the material world. Everyone should take up this chanting of Hare Krishna very seriously. Don't go at half speed. The waves of Maya are flowing very strongly. So we have to go more strongly if we're going to come out of Maya. With that strength we get by the mercy of Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. If we think, I'll just do a little Krishna consciousness, thinking like that means that we're already in Maya. Of course, that's better than not being in Krishna consciousness at all. But if at the outset we think, well, let me make some compromise with Maya, then that means we never really have the opportunity to escape from Maya. So take to Krishna consciousness with full commitment. That, of course, those who are in family life, they have their families to maintain, but you should do Krishna consciousness very seriously, side by side. So come forward, come up, make your commitment. No more sinful life, only Krishna conscious life. Everyone should surrender to Krishna via the process of devotional service. Those of you coming for some years, you should come up very seriously, take the vow, 16 rounds every day, 4 regulated principles. Don't hold back, don't stay back. Make that commitment to go back home, back to Godhead in this very life. It can be done by the mercy of Krishna. This Krishna consciousness process works. We will all be tremendously benefited by taking to this Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so have faith. This process works. It works for every jiva. Everyone who takes to this seriously, they will get the mercy of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any questions, please?
After our death, will we get an opportunity to see our father, mother and ancestors?
Say it in Tamil again. No, she said it, but not everyone heard it. Oh, you said it in Tamil already. Which father and which mother? We've had so many births. Do you want to see your cockroach father and mother also? But they're already in different form. By the mercy of Krishna, when we become liberated, we can see everything. And if we become fully Krishna conscious, then up to 21 generations of our forefathers, they also get fully liberated. See them in their spiritual aspect. And even before we leave this body, through Krishna consciousness, we see Vasundhaiva Kutumbakam. We see that all living beings are my friends and relatives. What is that verse? Idam maya paro veti. Idam maya paro veti ganana laghuchetasam udara charitananam vasudhaiva kutumbakam. Someone who's in very limited, small consciousness. Do you have that saying in Tamil? Means small-mindedness. Laghu Chetasa. In English it's called, in small-mindedness, in Sanskrit it's Laghu Chetasa. So such persons think that this is mine, I'm me, and this is everyone else. They make that differentiation. Chotoman, Bangla. Small-minded. But one who is very broad in his perception, he sees everyone as his family members. Because Krishna is the Supreme Father. Pitahamasya jagato mata dhata pitamaha. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I'm the father, the mother, the grandmother, and the dhata means the maintainer, the organizer, manager of the universe, overseer, creator. In Bhagavatam there's the story of Chitraketu Maharaj, who had one son who he was very attached to. The son died, he was very distressed. Then by the mercy of Narad Muni and Parvat Muni, that son was brought back to life. And Chitraketu said, "Oh, my son, don't you recognize your father?" He said, "Which father? I had so many fathers, so many births." By studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, we get full knowledge of who we are, who is God, what is our relationship, everything we need to know. So these books are all available in Tamil. You take one set of Srimad Bhagavatam in your home, study carefully, you will become the greatest learned person. And if you have that TV in your home, get rid of that. That just spoils the intelligence, even materially. Actually, we see that children who are raised by being taught Srimad Bhagavatam by Prabhupada's books, they become very intelligent, even materially. We've seen many devotees, they come to Krishna consciousness, they may be aged 20, 25 years old, they have no high material education, maybe just +2, something like that. Maybe not even that. But by studying Prabhupada's books and taking to Krishna consciousness seriously and chanting the holy names, they become very deep in Vaishnava philosophy and they can teach others. It's a great process. Live happily in this life and go to Krishna. And even in this very life, you'll become godly just by following this process. Become very saintly. Yeah, there's a question. Okay. All right. Let's just one. Just one. Please.
If we think that I got so many material desires, and if I think that after fulfilling the material desire I will come to Krishna consciousness, is such a understanding right or wrong? And I have some aspirations like desires for doing cinema field as a profession. Is that okay?
After fulfilling all my material desires, I'll take to Krishna consciousness. Then we'll never take to Krishna consciousness because material desires are never fulfilled. We strive to fulfill our material desires. Either they're not fulfilled and we're frustrated, or they are fulfilled, but in the process of them becoming fulfilled, more material desires are generated. You desire to excel in the cinema field. There are lakhs and crores of people who want to be successful in the cinema field also. You like dramas? Join Krishna's pastimes. Or you can join our drama troupe here in Chennai. If you do dramas for Krishna, even we may not be big and famous, but that's much more beneficial than being Rajnikant. So do dramas for Krishna. Glorify Krishna. Unless we glorify Krishna, our life is completely useless. The nature of material desire is that we think, if I fulfill it, I will be happy. But actually, even if we fulfill the desire, inside we feel empty. That's why we see there are so many so-called successful people who are even the very big famous ones, but inside they're empty. They have no satisfaction. But a person who gives his heart to Krishna, his heart is completely full. Please.
Krishna Dharma, our ella kadavul mudam kadavul. Our தேவர்களுக்கும் அசுரர்களுக்கும் யுத்தம் நடக்கும்போது பாரபட்சமாக நடந்து கொள்கிறார் என்ற என்னுடைய அபிப்பிராயம். அதை விளக்கி கூறும்படி கேட்டுக்கொள்கிறேன்.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, should be impartial, but we do see that he is taking the side of demigods in the fight between demigods and demons. So why is he taking side of demigods?
Yeah, very good question. This is discussed in some detail in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 7th canto. Oh, you're reading that? Yeah, okay, good. Well, the answer is there. he says in Bhagavad Gita also, Samohang sarva bhuteshu name dveshu stina priyaha. As Paramatma, or the neutral overseer of everything in the world, he is not particularly partial to anyone or opposed to anyone. But ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. But one who approaches me in love, Krishna says, I reciprocate with that. So Krishna wants the benefit of everyone. He's the best friend of every living being. Suhridam sarva bhutanam. So the devas act in a manner that the universe will go on in a way that is favorable for the residents of the universe, the Vishvavasis, to come to Krishna consciousness. Dvo bhutau sarge loke svin daiva asura evacha Vishnu bhakta smito daiva asuras tadviparyayaha. There are two kinds of living beings in this world. One is called the Deva and one is called the Asura. The Deva is a Vishnu Bhakta and the Asura is just the opposite. So the Asuras, they act in a manner which will impede people's opportunity to take to Krishna consciousness. In other words, they're acting in a manner which is unbeneficial for themselves and for everyone else. So Krishna takes the sides of the demigods because that is for the benefit of everyone, including the demons. And those who are very serious demons, they cannot be benefited in any other way than if they're killed by Vishnu and then they attain liberation. Prahladas chasmi daityanam. Krishna says among the daityas, the descendants of Diti, who are demons, I am represented by Prahlad. So Prahlad was the son of Hiranyakashipu, but Krishna dealt with Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad in a completely different way because their attitude was different. So Krishna's not against them. Krishna's not against the demons just because they're demons. Just like in this material world, someone is partial. They may say, well, we're Tamil and we like Tamil people and we don't like those Kannadiga who keep all our water. But Krishna is not like that. He accepted Vibhishana. Even everyone else said, don't take him. Don't take him. You can't trust him. He must be doing some trick. But Ram can understand the heart of Vibhishana. He accepted it. So even if someone is from demoniac background, Krishna will accept him if he's a devotee. Yeah. And even if someone is born in what's supposed to be a very saintly and family, if he's not a devotee, then Krishna won't accept him. Just like the son of Prahlad was Virochana, he was demoniac mentality. So he doesn't get the same treatment. And Krishna tries to bring the demons also to devotional service, especially as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. Yeah, there's a question.
I'm born and brought from the Vaishnava group. My missus is born and brought from the tribe of Shiva group. My mother-in-law said, Shiva is supreme, how do you say? I am a born and brought from the Vaishnava, so that is why I don't understand. My mother-in-law asked me, insist me, Shiva is the supreme, go and check it in North India. He said, I don't know how to explain to you.
So you're raised as a Vaishnava, but your mother-in-law says that Shiva is supreme and you should worship Shiva. Yeah, well, you know, mother-in-laws, everyone has a problem with their mother-in-law, right?
My wife is also...
Your wife is a Shiva. Wife belongs to that. That's more of a problem. Mother-in-law you can expect to be contrary, but the wife... You should tell her that the wife is supposed to follow the husband like Parvati follows Shiva. In the Padma Purana, there's a discussion is described between Shiva and Devi, Shakti. As a good wife, she approaches him for instruction in spiritual matters. She accepts the husband as the guru. So she asks him that, we see there are so many different kinds of worship going on in the world. Some people worship Vishnu, some people worship you, some people worship me, some people worship our son Murugan, others worship another son Ganesh. So she asked him, what is the best kind of worship? And he replies, Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param. Of all kinds of worship, that of Vishnu is supreme. Shiva is always, we see him meditating. That means he's meditating on some principle higher than himself. But Krishna is just enjoying. But Matena Krishna Paratasvatova, there are people who are determined not to be Krishna conscious. So it's a tough proposition. But anyway, you should tell your wife that she should follow as Parvati follows Shiva. But then you should practice Krishna consciousness very seriously also. If you're going to be guru to your wife, then you have to be a pure devotee. If you act in a materialistic way, then you're not fit to be a husband. So, okay. We want to do the best, we want to succeed in our profession, we may feel depressed if we're not able to do so. Well, first thing is, I don't recommend women to have a profession anyway. The profession is to look after the children. You can understand this. Your daughter may not understand it because she's being raised in a different culture. But actually this Stri Dharma is there, that she should serve the husband, look after the children, look after the elders. This is also conducive for making a religiously oriented society. I've discussed this fully in one seminar you can see on my website called Women, Masters or Mothers. It is not some fanatical anti-womanism, but it's very reasonable to understand for the welfare of everybody, including women and the broader society, and especially the children. The children. But in this material world, we all have material desires, but that must lead to frustration. Even if you're the most successful person, just like I gave the name of Lata Mangeshkar, she was unparalleled in singing. But there comes a time in old age when that faculty is taken away, and then disappointment. There's so many people going to Bombay and thinking, I want to become a film star. It's a matter of Manushanam Sahas. Not even 1 in 1,000 gets even a job as an extra. So we should understand that cultivating material desires is a sure program for disappointment. Cultivating Krishna consciousness is a sure program for achieving real success, which is to get free from this material world. Even if you become as successful as Jai Lalita, then you may end up in prison. And if she gets back in the post and she found out I said that, I might end up in prison. But in this material world, everyone's in prison. We're bound up, we're tied up, we're forced to be born again and again and again. As a devotee, even if someone puts him in prison, he's free because they cannot capture the soul. He's given that to Krishna. So we should understand that cultivating material desires is absolutely against our real self-interest. In this modern society which says, get ahead, get a great career, and make the most of your life, it's a demoniac society which causes so much disappointment, depression, and no one is benefited by it. We see in the modern age there's so much mental disturbance, depression. Why? Because the society tries to, there's a whole idea we should become great and big, but most people don't become great or big. So they're disappointed. Just forget whatever whatever kind of training they give you in school and through the TV. Just understand this is all nonsense. Learn from Krishna how to live. Okay, we should finish. It's getting a little late. Hare
Krishna.
They should all get Bhagavatam sets. Tell them all to take a Bhagavatam set. That's the first thing. Just like this devotee here, he's reading Bhagavatam, and what elevated questions he's asking, how the consciousness has been elevated by studying Srimad Bhagavatam. What are you experiencing by studying Bhagavatam? Please tell us.
I'm reading this regularly, and for the past 1 year, and I have seen a lot of changes in myself. And although I'm not yet completely a devotee, but I'm feeling a lot of change in myself.
Character improvement, yeah. So reading these books and chanting Hare Krishna will save you from illusion, disappointment, and sinful life. If anyone wants to discuss more, we can discuss later individually, because we have to finish now. Because people have to go to work tomorrow morning and they have to go back some distance also.
ஏதாவது விவாதிக்க விரும்புறீங்க அப்படின்னா இப்ப முடிஞ்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் தனியா வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா, ஏன்னா நிறைய பேர் கொஞ்சம் தூரத்துல போக வேண்டிய தேவை இருக்கு.